Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. In this video today, we're going to be, as the title suggests, we're going to be discussing leases in Thailand and a recent consumer protection law that's coming into force May of 2018, which is going to reshape the legal landscape with respect to leases here in the kingdom. Couple of things. One, the penalty for being in violation of the new law, and we're not going to go through every aspect of the new law. Those who are interested, and this should not be taken as a substitute for legal assistance or legal advice, I'm just sort of doing an overview in this video of some of the changes that one can expect with respect to laws regarding leases in Thailand moving forward. Penalties up to a year in jail and up to 100,000 baht fine for failure to comport with the law. Some other highlights include it looks like only 2 months rent will be allowed to be taken up front, and this also applies retroactively. So this part of the law is going to operate going backwards. So there are going to be some landlords, I'm assuming here in the kingdom, who are going to need to go ahead and restructure their lease agreements and possibly have to disperse refunds of previously obtained deposits associated with prior leases that were made here in the kingdom. There's a practice here in Thailand, I've seen it happen quite often, especially with high demand property, where basically a landlord will say, okay, give me 30 days deposit, I'll hold the condo. If you don't end up renting it, you don't get your deposit back, basically. It's sort of like earnest money in an American legal context, but over here, it's basically a deposit that's required by the landlord for them to essentially sort of allow an individual to keep that in limbo. It appears that that is not going to be allowed anymore under the new law. So and again, it's viewed. It looks to me like it's viewed in the context of sort of an unfair advantage kind of situation, and they don't want to see people being taken advantage of, consumers being taken advantage of by people that are essentially operating in sort of almost an adhesive contractual environment where they basically just have a great deal of leverage over the renter. It smacks of somewhat unfair advantage to sort of completely leverage that individual, and by things like these deposits. That seems to be the policy argument behind the new changes. Another thing that will be very interesting with respect to the upcoming legislation is, in the past, landlords would frequently basically sort of dictate the terms of utility bills and water bills and various other things associated with security or telecommunications issues, things like this. Landlords would there was the cost, and then they would sort of add on sort of a premium just because for the tenant. And this practice is apparently going to be outlawed as well under the new rules. All these utility issues, security issues, telecommunications things, all of that has to be passed on to the tenant on an at-cost basis rather than sort of the landlord. So if the landlord gets an electric bill for 700 baht and he tells the tenant, you need to pay me 1,000 baht for electric, that will no longer be allowed. This was a practice that had occurred in Thailand for some time, and it looks like that this recently promulgated legislation is going to be utilized to put that practice, out of practice. So it looks like these changes are going to be, for the most part, beneficial, especially to tenants. How they're actually enforced remains to be seen, as the law hasn't come into effect yet. But I think it's safe to say that many changes are coming with respect to lessor-lessee relationships here in the Kingdom of Thailand.